So, welcome everyone to first Zoom meeting. It's an exploratory group to talk about Shoreline Stitcher Showcase, which I believe everyone's familiar with. It had been run for several years by the Needle Artists by the Sea ANG chapter, but they're unable to do it anymore. And so the idea is to have a similar, it's possible in the future we could even adopt that name, but to have a similar event. And so that's what we would be talking about. And there's obviously there's many, many things that go on there. But the two things that I thought we should start out with, one of the most important things will be to find a venue. And because a lot of people in Southern California, anyway, from Shirley, who's down in San Diego, and my group who's up in West Los Angeles and also in San Pedro. And then there are people that go out into Ontario with Pat Corres. And then there are people, in different EGA chapters that are also north of us. So the idea is to make it something that is for everyone in Southern California. So as far as a location, we would need a location, hopefully that is, freeway close and has decent parking that hopefully would be free, something like that. It had been held previously down in San Pedro in the warehouse area, but that's a little bit far away for people to get there. And let me see, before that, it was at the South Coast Botanical Garden. And my understanding is they priced themselves out because we did not have Shoreline in 2020 or 2021. And then we would have had it at South Coast Botanical Garden, but it wasn't there. So then when we went back to them to reschedule, it was just enormously expensive. So the idea is to have people thinking about places in their area, and I'm not saying where your area is, just in Southern California, where we might be able to hold it. And then we have to find out, like many stitching groups, for instance, meet at churches. But because I think we would probably have to have an event that at least went over the weekend, if not including Friday. Churches usually are not available then because they have their own things going on. So that takes a lot of potential places out of the running. But there are, many towns that I'm not available with probably have municipal buildings that you can rent and so on and so forth. So the idea is to talk to your friends or whatever locally, to talk to people about, places we could have it, because whenever we do it, we were going to have to probably reserve it maybe a year and a half ahead of time. So the idea is just to get some ideas, maybe talk to them about prices and so forth, because also we don't have any treasury right now. So then we'd have to address that. But for right now, the things I want to discuss with people, if you have any ideas, just think about it, talk to people in your chapter if you're in a chapter. And then, we can have a meeting just to discuss that and find things. Now, the other thing is, if we have an event, we need to have a chairperson or a non-chairperson to run it. Now, I agree with Shirley's idea to have a professional manager, but the thing is we have no budget now. So we can't really reach out to people about it unless we develop a kind of budget. Now, that's something that we could do, because there are people you can reach out to for like maybe some of the thread companies or some of the local shops who'll give small bequests, and then there might be enough money to reserve a place. But those are the things I would like people to think about. So does anybody have any ideas or something they liked or didn't like about the place that Shoreline has been previously? Those kind of things are good so that we come to a consensus of the kind of place we would be looking for. And there's two people on here I don't personally know, but a lot of people I've reached out to is to make the audience for our event bigger. So I've reached out to several cross-stitch groups, because there are a lot of really organized ones around here. White Work, I talked to a few knitting shops, not for clothing, but there's a lot of little stitching things that are small that are made by knitting shops now. So those are people we'd like to include. NAS is a Canvas group because it's part of ANG, but I think that other groups that do stitching, whether they're formal or informal, are people we want to reach out to, because those are the people who would enjoy coming to an event and just looking around, and also entering things, because one of the main things that people really like about Shoreline is the fact that the judges all give them, you get a critique from it. Now, if you go to a national seminar, usually they charge you to get a critique, but it's really, really helpful, I think, to get a critique of your work. And it's just given to you. It's not shared with anyone else. But of course, if you win a ribbon, people will know that you won a ribbon. So does anybody have any comments or what they'd like to talk about, if a place comes to mind, or what you think the place should have, other than just an exhibit? I mean, Shoreline has always had a little shop where people donated items and they were sold, and that helped a great deal, especially to put money aside for the next Shoreline. So I want to hear from people.
So, Kathy,
Yeah.
for those that don't know me, I'm Jan Woolsey, and I know a lot of you on the calls. Some of you I don't, but it's nice to see familiar faces. I was talking to Shirley and some others, and we were battling around the idea of trying to approach some of the community colleges. If we did an event in the summer, they frequently are not using all of their spaces. And so, if we did, and it might even be some of the non-community colleges that have spaces that we could use, that they might be willing to work with us for a very low fee, and would have good parking, and hopefully be centrally located to Southern California. And if that is something that the committee, the exploratory committee, thought would be worth exploring, I'd be happy to kick some tires on that and see what we might come up with in that regard.
I think that's an excellent idea. I can certainly reach out to, I guess, Santa Monica Community College and West LA College. Does anyone else have a community college in their area? I see Mary Hollifield.
Not a community college, but I was thinking Palos Verdes Art Center is something that you should consider. It has a pretty good sized auditorium and an auxiliary room, and they have had a lot of the plant shows move from the Arboretum to the Palos Verdes Art Center. So they've got to be, and plant people have no money, so it might be economically feasible.
Now, is that something, because you're in that area, is that something that you could investigate?
It's pretty far away from me.
Okay, where in Palos Verdes is it? So,
It's
oh,
on
yeah, because you're in
Crenshaw,
Westchester. Yeah.
not too far from Indian Peak. And it's as you're going up Crenshaw, you pass the Arboretum and you go on for a ways, and then you come to the Art Center.
Okay, so it's just south of the Arboretum on Crenshaw. Okay.
Probably south. I don't have a very good sense of direction in the area. I always drive exactly the same route.
Okay.
Kathy, Mary, this is Mary Fleming.
Yes.
When we were looking at doing 2026 Shoreline Showcase Needle Artists, we looked at the Peninsula Art Center, and they want the same money that Crafted wanted, because they're run by the same people. And it was hideously expensive, not just for the facility, but also for materials like to hang things on, and furnishings, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we were looking at well over $10,000 facility.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
I also looked at Torrance Performing Arts Center. If you can find somebody to handle the contracts, there's this a resident of the city of Torrance, you get a deal there. But you've got the same situation with needing furnishings. And I put a lot of effort into looking at El Camino College, and I could not get a single person over there to return any of my phone calls. So,
Okay. All right. So I'm writing that down to look into. Okay. Now, something else that came up is a lot of the local cities have their own libraries. Like where I live in Santa Monica, they have 5 of them. So I had talked to them because they do have big meeting rooms there, but they will not let you reserve it as far in advance as we need to. You know, they pretty much go month by month, and they do have some clubs, but a lot of it is student oriented there. But if anybody goes to a library a lot in their town and that has meeting rooms, that's another place, because that's a civic thing to do, because you can tell them that you're going to have some of their citizens participate, because sooner or later you will. And I think so. I think a library, if you have any in your area that have a good size, I think a library is another place to think about. And also in libraries, sometimes what you can do is you can arrange services for them in the sense that you would do an exhibit somewhere, for instance. So that's another thing. You can talk to them about doing that, or even have, libraries have lots of little classes, especially to do things like bookmarks. Maybe we could, have a couple of them at that library, because that provides a service to them, and you're also using their area. And also, those are good things. It's easy to publicize things if they're in a public building as well. Okay.
Problem is Sparky's way too big to fit in the jet slots right now. That's where Robin Gary came in.
Can't hear you, Cindy.
Yes. What?
We can't hear you. Can you speak up a bit?
Like I said, Sparky's trimmed down. Its power generation and storage system is big and bulky. The only way to make those components smaller is to go to the mini
I guess she's going to put it in the chat. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Good.
Well, we also know about the Arboretum that's in Arcadia,
Uh-huh.
the Irish Society. A friend of mine is very active in the Irish Society, and they have their stuff there. And she's very familiar with it. And they weren't charging them an arm and a leg like South Coast Botanical Gardens. So that is another possibility.
But wasn't there an issue, though, with parking with them?
No.
With the Irish group?
The
Not at the alley.
issue with the Arboretum is that you have to they would want you to purchase an entry ticket into the Arboretum,
Mhm.
and it's like $13.
Uh-huh.
So that's the only issue that I see as being maybe a problem, but that's not that much money. And I think Jill said that they were only charging the Irish Society $100 for 3 days, or for their whole plant sale. So
I know, but if you have to pay to get in the Arboretum, I think that whatever we end up kind of event that we have to charge people to get in there as well, because that's where a great deal of the income will come from. Even
that's true.
Mary Fleming, I believe I was told that because the entry fee was made very low, like twice as many people came. So,
Well, the thing is, if it's $20, if we charge people $20 for their entry fee, then
Mhm.
13 of it would cover the entrance to the Arboretum.
No, because the money that comes from people's entry pays for the judges usually.
No, it doesn't, because the region paid for a judge last time.
the
But
the
Sorry.
that the artists paid. This is Mary Fleming again, and
Yeah.
I'm speaking purely from Shoreline Stitcher Showcase perspective. The
Mhm.
money that we earned from as entry fees for entering your piece in the show is maybe best case scenario 30% of what the judges cost. So, I mean, ideally, they would be a wash, but that never happened.
Okay.
And we have charged $8 as an entrance fee for the general public to come and see the show, which we dropped to 5 for the last one because we had done such a good job of fundraising beforehand that we didn't need, you know, to be usurious our entrance fee.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good perspective because that's probably the only similar event we can look at for getting information. So thank you, Mary. And Cindy, I noticed in the chat that a senior center. Now, that's something I hadn't thought of, but I know that I drive around and I see senior centers. So that's another place that you couldn't look in your neighborhood too. Senior centers are very good because, quite frankly, many Stitchers are seniors, which we can say. So the other thing I was thinking of too, but I don't have my daughter is older, so if anyone has children or grandchildren that are Boy or Girl Scout groups, those are groups that we could. Many of them have a local place that they all meet, and which would be hopefully sizable, but we could get especially Girl Scouts, sadly, involved, or even Boy Scouts, and they could be helpers. Like we could give them jobs in the lead up, and they could be helping us. When the event is, they could take people around or check them in at the door, do little things like that, and because they have to do public service, and this would be a public service, and then we could also have different members come and teach them how to do cross stitch or needlepoint or so on and so forth. So we're giving something to them, and they're giving something back. But since I don't talk to younger people very much anymore, if anyone has children or grandchildren that are really active in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, that's another place that we could look at because many of them do have big meeting areas or central meeting areas for for a county or something, and that would be a good place as well to look in your neighborhood or talk to people that have kids that are in those groups. So okay, so the community center in Cindy, in Canyon Country, is that run by the city? Is a community center, or is it a private charity kind of thing? Okay, I see Cindy is typing. Yeah. Mary, do you know how many square feet is needed for the show, Mary Fleming? We have a question.
I'm going to say at least 3,000.
3,000 square feet. And that would encompass the exhibit and also open spaces where people can meet, or if there's a little shop or raffle things. So
yeah,
that would take everything, or that's just for the exhibit?
I'm going to say it's just for the exhibit. I would be looking at 3,000 to 5,000 square feet.
Okay. I'm making note for the exhibit. Okay, that's good. Now, I notice we have some newer people on that I don't know. Jack Brooks, who else? And Deborah. I don't think I know. I've interacted with you.
Hi, Kathy.
Yeah.
I'm I'm here on the Central Coast, near I guess just north of San Luis Obispo.
Oh, okay.
Is probably where people might know
so you're
better.
Up that ways. Okay.
Yeah, I'm up that ways, and with Bishop's Peak chapter of the EGA.
Oh, of course.
And,
you just had it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we just had a retreat here. And I had two things, and I've never been to your showcase, but I've read about it each year. And I like the idea. I thought it was a way cool idea. And I was, a lot of your shopping centers now have lost a lot of their retail spaces, and they may be willing. That's one idea, is they may be willing to work with you since it's only for a short period. What they would charge, I have no idea. It depends where it would be at. but I know there's like Bed Bath and Beyond is a fairly large store, about probably
Yeah.
10,000 square feet. And places like that have unfortunately gone out of business as a brick and mortar store, but that's a source. Also, I was wondering, and I'm not familiar, is the showcase connected to a group like ANG, or is it connected to EGA, or I'm
Well,
not.
it's not connected right now because we're still exploring things. But originally, Shirley and myself, we reached out to people in the chapters, and then I started doing the cross stitchers and other people like that. Just to have more people. But if we can find a place, the idea of having the ANG and EGA chapters help out is really historic if both of them agree to do it. Because I know I had reached out to the EGA in our area about it, and when we had our meeting, uh, everybody voted to say yes. If it worked, we would like to help, but everything depends on specifics. So, so that
Because
I
I
think
was
that
thinking maybe, yeah, I was thinking
yeah,
maybe a collaboration with
yeah,
either ANG or EGA, and like maybe they have like their regional retreats.
mhm,
National may be too much, although one is coming up in Arizona, but
uh-huh,
in 2027, but maybe a regional somehow combining, and you complement the regional and the regional complements you, because the regional did use a hotel this year.
yeah,
Everybody was responsible for their own hotel rooms,
mhm,
and it was very much on a budget.
yeah.
Uh, but maybe something like that, although 3,000 square feet is a lot of square footage for them to take on. So I don't know.
Okay, so let me see. Shopping malls. I I agree that shopping malls may be available there because people are saying that no one wants to shop outside, everyone wants to shop online. But I think that they do have spaces. I the only thing we'll have to look into it. The only thing I think is they might not be able to reserve a space too far in the future because they'll be hoping to rent out that
Oh,
space.
oh,
So, but
that's
I'm not
true.
saying that would happen but it's possible. If anybody knows anybody that works at a lot of the shopping malls are owned by like big sort of conglomerates that own several
Right,
of them. And
right.
so they might have one shopping mall that's not doing particularly well. And as long as it's well located, and they usually are, they might be willing to do that. But I think that's another place to explore would be shopping malls. I think that's a great idea.
And another
Um,
one might be a collaboration with um, a group, um, such as like, I'm just gonna, maybe a
yeah.
animal humane society or something, and
Hmm.
maybe something where your show can benefit them and they can provide space to benefit you. Maybe something
Uh,
like that too. Like your garden, you were
yes.
saying your garden.
Yeah, any kind of group that would want to join in would be great. But I
Yeah,
like, as far as, for instance, EGA, the Pacific Southwest region, it would have to be sometime in the future because in 2027, um, PSR is the host chapter for the
right.
Tucson National
Yeah,
Seminar.
right,
So
right.
yeah, so that's in, so, but I'm not sure about ANG because ANG they're having a seminar this year, but then their one next year is going to be really short. It's only 4 days long, so everybody's kind of cutting back. But if we could find someone who's cutting back but still is interested, we could do it because the idea of reaching out to these chapters is we could get a bunch of people like it depends on how we would want to organize it, but usually, especially ahead of time, there's like you have little pods. Like one is going to organize the judges, and one is going to organize where the entries go. We have to talk about if we're going to have the idea of having some of the national. I was thinking that the thread companies are the ones to approach because they often will just give away stuff that people get when you go to seminars. They give you lots of free thread and stuff. They might have a little more money than chapters would have, the same way that some of the stores would as well. So anyway, so this is a really good list of things. So what I would do then is type it up and send it to everybody. And the idea is to start talking to your stitching friends, basically. Do they have time? Because people want to devote time, but they might not be able to do it for 2 years. But if you're in one of the pods that does one of the things, you could participate then. And then, of course, when the show comes, everybody comes to the show. So, okay. So I'm going to make a list and, circulate it with everyone here. And I'd like you to reach out to people in your that stitchers. They don't have to be in either of the guilds, but just people who stitch a lot, and they know people who do, because it's a very communal thing to do. So, all right. Let me see.
Is Krynic located in your area?
Pardon?
Is Krynic located in your area?
It's in the South.
Krei.
No, I know Krynic. They're sort of. They're in the San Fernando Valley. Yeah.
Could they be a point of collaboration on?
Well, I think that they would be very approachable, because they let chapters come and take a tour and stuff. Mm-hmm. So they invite people in, and since they're big now, because as you know, they are now owned by. They've moved out to the West Coast. They were in the East Coast. So right. I would think that being a bigger company would be great. So. And okay, I saw Sandra. I saw a question here in the group chat about shorting the weekend-long show to one day Saturday. The thing is, it takes a long time to set it up, because I'm saying this based on Shoreline, because Shoreline would always set up on Friday and then be open Saturday and then close partway through Sunday, because then you have to clear out the venue, for Monday. So the thing is, if it's shorter, you still have to add, aside from the show, you have to add the setup day. And so that's an extra day. So, and also Janice mentioned about malls want to have mall hours of opening, closing. That would probably make our hours longer, because many malls are open in the evening, like until 9 or so. Mornings, they usually start around 10, which is a good time for a show. Because, we all don't want to get up, even if we're just visiting, we don't want to get up that early to go over to it unless we have a way to drive.
I do think that if we are in a mall, mm-hmm. we would not necessarily have to extend our hours to the whole time, but we would have to leave before they were done.
Yes.
But Krynic has now sold to Rainbow Gallery, which is located in Burbank.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Yeah.
So as a consequence, and they've had sort of a real struggle with the fact that, getting things out on time and this, that, and the other has been problematic for them.
Yeah.
So it might be a perfect time to reach out to them to sort of do some healing support, particularly if the show were somewhere in that region that, they may even have space. I don't really know.
Well, when the last time I was out there was before Krynic and Rainbow Gallery were together. I went out to Rainbow Gallery. So I don't really know what their space is. I would assume that they had to acquire some more just to fit the Krynic stuff in, because they were talking about, moving stuff. They talk about that when they're out and about.
Right.
So has anyone here ever dealt with Rainbow Gallery directly?
I know people that have.
Okay. So if you could approach one of them and see if they feel comfortable talking to them, and if not, just get a name at Rainbow Gallery and we can just start there. Because Krynic was easy. It was always Doug Krynic, but of course he's not there anymore. So, yeah. Okay. All right.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm the co-president of the Inland Empire EGA chapter. My name is Jack. CJ moved, so she's not the president there anymore.
Okay, well, welcome. I'm sure I'll see you out in Ontario at some point.
Yeah.
And I am a member of IEC, so good. Thank you, Jack. Okay, all right. So I think unless anyone else has so this is what I'll make a list of the suggestions that people have made and circulate them to everyone here. And then I would like to suggest that we all meet perhaps in a month again, encourage other friends to come on and tell us anything that you've discovered. And then we can decide if there's a specific person or persons that we want to go after. So, and also at some point, there aren't many local shops left, but at some point we need to go to talk to the local shops and get them to get their customers to come. So, okay, let me see. So, all right, so let me see. Sandra Miller, I'm writing down your email. Okay. Yes.
That was Shirley's.
Yeah.
thought.
1985. Okay. Now the other topic that we have to talk about altogether is if we're going to have an event, we need to have a boss or bosses, several people who work together, or maybe just one person that's going to be in charge in the future. Now, Shirley has other responsibilities. I do too. So I wouldn't want to be the only person in charge, but I could be one of several and share the expertise that I have from working on the different shorelines. Now, Shirley had mentioned hiring someone, and that's a good thing, if we could hire a professional person to run it. But the problem is we don't have any money right now. So that's something we could talk about, or I could talk to Elena, or Shirley could if she had the time, and just see what she would need, like in terms of money, in terms of support from people. But I don't think we can do work in that direction until we have income. But I think that's a ways away. But I had talked to some people and asked them to identify people they knew. And this is mostly in the guilds, because that's, I wouldn't want to approach someone who is a cross stitcher because I don't know anything about them or their experience. But I think in the guilds, we have a lot of people, especially like past presidents and stuff, who do have experience running things and do know how to reach out to people and get little pods to do whatever section needs to be done. So if you have any ideas there of people can approach, you may have talked to someone yourself. That would be the next thing that we need to do, is find someone to sort of coordinate going along. Now, I can do several meetings until we have somebody, but I think it's good that we start reaching out to the professionals that we know, because they're going to be good. In fact, I see Marge Roberts' name here, and Marge has been president of a couple of guilds I've been in, and she's very competent. But the question is, does she have any interest in devoting her time to this? And that's why we need to talk to people we know that, do this a lot. Like Mary Hollifield, you might be able to look in Azure Verde and see that there's someone in Azure Verde who's really, Jan Woolsey, I know, would know people when we need a financial person. I'm sure Jan has some people in mind that she could suggest to us, and so on. So that's something. Does anybody have ideas, or what do you think we should be looking for in a leader, aside from the fact they have to be organized and have some background in some kind of stitching, whatever kind of stitching is their preference. So let's have some thoughts on that.
You really need, this is Mary Fleming again. Yeah. You really need somebody who has experience managing teams. Mm-hmm. Because at least the way we did it, we divided all of the basic areas up. Like there was judging, there was processing the entries, mm-hmm. there was drop off, which usually is part of judging. So somebody would be in charge of judging, somebody would be in charge of finance, somebody would be in charge of these various little divisions, and then they go out and recruit their own volunteers and set up their own procedures and basically get their stuff done with their own little teams, and then they report back to the central organizing committee. Mm-hmm. So people that have experience working in teams is pretty important.
I agree, Mary. And the other thing, just put this in the back of your mind because it'll come up once we start needing funding, is a lot of people get things from their members and have a white elephant sale every year, or they get things from estates, and people donate those in the thought that they will be sold and that money will go towards the event. So that's something just to keep in the back of your mind, because if we decide to do that, then once again we have to have a place and so on and so forth. So, and that would come pretty soon, probably after we have a place to have the show. So keep that in mind. And that, so
Accumulating those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the sub teams is boutique manager.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Kathy,
and it is
really,
a
really
fine thing.
She did it twice, at least twice.
At least twice. Yes, more than that. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just thinking of that because it comes when Mary mentions teams. That's the kind of thing that we want to set up quickly, I think. So anybody else? And also, I think that most of our business won't have to be conducted in person as it has been in the past. So we can do most of it electronically with Zoom or emails and stuff. We can get a lot of work done that way.
Yeah, so. Right. The ability to work in teams has been greatly enhanced since COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I have a couple of documents that have been developed over the 20 years that we were doing Stitcher Showcase that I'll either send to you, Kathy, for distribution, or if you develop an email list and send it to me, I'll send it out to everybody. It'll just give you an idea of why we did things the way we did them and what sort of things needed doing that might be helpful early in this process.
Okay. Well, I don't know that we need to send everything because that's way in the future, but just for the issues that we have now about having a place and having people to be, managers, that's super important at this point to identify those people, and we and other people that sadly are not on this Zoom call can reach out because we know people, and that's all around the area, because I know that I think most of us are here or north, but then we have San Diego and Orange County. There are, groups there, and they're usually quite helpful. So we can reach out to them as well, and they may have people, who are managers who have that experience
to do this.
Yeah. So I think that let me see that Cindy, that was Shoreline. It just moved. It moved from there, and then NAS took it over.
What? Say that again.
Okay. Cindy posted that Channel Islands used to have a show prior to Shoreline Stitchers, but that was what I thought it was called, Shoreline Stitchers, but it was the same people. Because I would drive up to that, and then when it moved down here, it moved, I think, to Loyola the first time. But it was a big show, and it was very similar to Shoreline.
It was purely Channel Islands. Okay, put it on. And theirs was called Stitchers Fair. And then I opened my big mouth at a needle artist meeting once and said, "Oh, gee, we should do a show down here."
Yeah.
And we came up with the name of Shoreline Stitcher Showcase. And Shoreline, even before there was Stitchers Fair, there was Stitchers Showcase, which was put on by a ladies' philanthropic organization here on the peninsula, Los Ayudas. And they did it to raise money to support some of their philanthropies. And between those two things, Stitcher Showcase and Stitchers Fair, they ate up all of the best names. And so we called it Shoreline Stitcher Showcase because the name from Needle Artist Newsletter is Shorelines. And we avoided copyright problems that way. But Channel Islands quit doing Stitchers Fair once Stitcher Showcase became established, for a lot of the same reasons that Needle Artists isn't doing it. Is it was all the work was being done by the same people, and that group was getting smaller and smaller and older and older. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know. Now, Marge made a comment regarding our venue that we need to know their insurance requirements. And just so everyone knows, when you sign a contract with a venue, that is something that will come up. And we will have to get some kind of insurance. That's why we may need at some point to have an established group be the person who signs off on it, depending on what kind of income we have. So. But then that's something they would have to do. Like we might be able to get, for instance, PSR to sign off because that's a bigger established group as long as we could provide them with the funds. That's, that would be the main thing, that we have to be able to afford to do what we want to do. So, and, okay, any other ideas? We need ideas. So, all right. So, what we could do now is I will send everyone some of the notes that I'm taking, and I'd like everybody to reach out to people they know that would be interested. Especially the EGA chapters have all said we would like to help, so that's a good place to start. But I think we need A&G people as well, because it broadens everything. And then I'm pretty interested in bringing in all the cross stitchers, because that quite frankly is very popular right now. And so that's a lot of bodies that could enter things and help out and so forth. So most of the cross stitch groups are not organized in a particular way like a guild would be. They just are, 20 or 30 people that meet together all the time regularly. So there are a couple. The biggest one I know is at Delamo, which is in Torrance. And by the way, Mary, did anyone reach out to places that have quilt shows? That's another thing, is if you know anyone that's a quilter, and quilt shows, they need a lot of space, and places that have quilt shows know how to do it. Now, I'm not thinking of doing it out in Ontario at the convention center, because that's massive, but there are smaller ones. Like I know I've been to the one in Torrance a few times.
Right. Well, the South Bay Quilters Guild, or South Bay Quilters, or something like that puts on their quilt show every February at the Torrance Cultural Arts Center.
Yeah.
That's one of the places that we looked at for 2026 Stitcher Showcase. And if we had not, thrown in the towel, we probably would have had it. Wouldn't have been in the same auditorium.
Yeah, well, they have several large rooms there. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've used the ones that we wanted. But that, I think Torrance is, it's got a lot of big roads, and it's relatively close to a freeway, so it's easy to get to. Because if we have the show in an area where people might go because there's a mall or a botanical garden or something that they would go to anyway, and they would say, oh, we can go to this show, and then we could go do this and that makes it attractive to people who have to travel to come. So anyway, so what I like to do is put this stuff together, and I'd like people to think about people who could lead some of the teams, and maybe one person otherwise, and perhaps reconvene in a month. Is that does people feel that's enough time to pick up the phone and call people, so to speak? Is anybody okay? So maybe I can. All right. Sorry, I am pulling out a calendar. So February. So is this a good time for everyone? Originally, when Shirley and I talked about this, we thought it would be not do in the day, but do it in the early evening, because people who work, just so that this is a good time of day. So how do people feel this is a good time to contribute? 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock? Okay. And then, let me see. So, and is this a good day of the week for people?
Good day of the week.
good day of the week, Wednesday. Okay, we could do it. Let me see. February 18th is a Wednesday, but that's also Ash Wednesday, just FYI. And Mardi Gras is the day before, but we can sleep it off. Okay, so how about February 18th? Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay. 6 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
I will be in Texas that night, so that may not work for me, but I can try to send a representative.
Okay, or you could, if you have ideas of people, you can just share them and we can all talk about it and stuff.
Kathy, that's the night of my EGA meeting. Balding
it
Green
is.
meets that night. That's okay.
Okay, well, we could do it the 11th, which is the week before, the 25th, which is the week after.
Either one of those is fine.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, I'm having surgery on the 24th, so I don't think the 25th is going to
Okay.
work for me.
Okay. Well, how about the 11th then? Wednesday, the 11th.
The 11th works.
Okay. All right. So I'll send around notices. Please talk to everyone, all your friends about this, and I will talk to Shirley. We may have to set up a Zoom. I'm not sure, but I will talk to Shirley about it because we're now using San Diego Zoom. They were courteous enough to offer it for this meeting, but we may not be able to use it all the time. And there's a few. The other thing which I didn't do because it changed a lot around this time of year, but a lot of people have Zoom meetings, a lot of chapters in both sides, and you can join in and say, I just want to give you a little presentation, little 5-minute talk to there. So, okay. And then, okay, one more suggestion be a historic area, such as Bel Sagardo and Santa Barbara. So any historic areas, that's also, if you have them in your neighborhood, that would also be a good place to have an event. Okay, so, okay. So thank you for all participating. And I look forward to seeing you and hopefully many others on the 11th at 6 o'clock. And I will definitely send around, as soon as I figure out about the Zoom, I will send that around to everyone.
Thank you. I have another meeting I have to go to, so.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming, Candy.
Kathy,
Jan?
I said that I own a business Zoom subscription, which allows me to have up to 100 participants for an unlimited length of time. So I would be happy to offer mine up if you needed it.
Okay. I think we do.
That's a good reason to not do the meeting on the 25th.
Yes.
Yes. No,
I might be a little drunk that day.
Okay. Well, it's it's still a month away from St. Patrick's Day. You can be practicing.
Oh. Well, maybe not. Okay.
Okay. All right. So once again, thank you everybody, and I'm delighted to see some new faces and set up with my regulars. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.